HaKadosh Baruch Hu as being kadosh, being holy, being sanctified, that implies the attribute of strict judgment. And an example of this is in Parsha Shmini, when the two sons of Aaron were killed for bringing a foreign fire into the Kodesh Kodshim, Moshe Rabbeinu tells them that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had told him, Bikrovai Ekodesh, I will be sanctified through those who are close to me. And Rashi says, Kadosh Baruch Hu osei din, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu meets out strict judgment, misyore umisala umiskale. So Kadosh Baruch Hu becomes praised. We see the greatness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. We see the holiness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. When he meets out din against tzaddikim, and not only tzaddikim, but wicked as well, kol shekain, certainly the wicked, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is praised. Bikrovai, Moshe says to Aaron, through Hashem's most close people, Nadav and Avihu, who are so close to Hashem, through their demise, Kodesh, I will become sanctified. So says the guy, when we talk about the Kedusha of Hashem, we talk about Din. On the other hand, when we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, praise be Hashem, we generally praise Hashem when we receive kindness from Hashem. When Hashem gives us something to be thankful for, we say Baruch Hu, thank be Hashem. That implies the concept of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mercy and chesed. So the name HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings both of these midos to bear. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a combination of the midas hadin, the kodesh, the strict judgment, and Baruch Hu, the concept of chesed and rachnim, of kindness. Says the Vilna Gaon, throughout history, when our enemies tried to destroy us, there were two general approaches that they had to destroy us. They could be very harsh to us and persecute us, and pogroms and Holocaust. That was with a concept of din, of harshness. But there's also another method that our enemies employ in the attempt to destroy us. Sometimes they befriended us. And they hope that by befriending us and to act with us kindly, that would allow us to become, we would be tempted to assimilate into their culture, and then we would again become destroyed. We would cease to exist as Klal Yisrael. So, and that is through rachamim, through kindness with quotation marks, through kindness. So there are two different ways that our enemies try to destroy us, through harshness and through kindness. So says the Vilna Gaon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which implies both the harshness and the softness, the harshness and the chesed, the two qualities of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, those two qualities counteracted the two qualities of the nations that try to destroy us. And every generation they try to destroy us in one of two ways. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which represents, the name HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which represents Din and Chesed, He saved us from those two ways. And I would just add the following. In Parshas B'Shalach, Yaakov Avinu davens to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's about to encounter the wicked Esav. And he says, Hatzileni no miyad ochi miyad Esav. Please Hashem, save me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav. And it seems redundant. Yaakov only had one brother. Doesn't have to say from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav. Esav was his only brother. Why is it necessary to say both? So the Beis Halevi understands that Yaakov Avinu was davening for two things. He was davening, save me from Esav when Esav is wicked to me, when it's Esav Harasha, and he wants to be harsh, and he wants to persecute me. But save me also from my brother when he wants to act with me with brotherly love. Miyad Ochi. When Esav wants to befriend me, save me from that as well. Hatzileni no miyad ochi. Save me from my brother when he wants to act with me like a brother, but he really has ulterior motives. and save me miyad Esav. And perhaps this lashon, this language of the Baal Haggadah refers to that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu miyadam. Just like Hatzileni miyad ochi miyad Esav, just like the Vilna Gaon says, that we're saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which has midas hadin, midas rachamim, harshness and kindness, will save us. So, just like by Yaakov Avinu, where he David Hatzileni no, the same lashon, save me miyad ochi miyad Esav, from the hand, this hand and that hand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu miyadam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves us from both those hands. The hand of harshness, the hand of persecution, and the hand of seemingly brotherliness and the attempt to befriend us and to integrate us into their culture. Later on the Haggadah, we speak about three things that are essential and integral to the Haggadah. And we are told that if we don't say these three things, we have not fulfilled our obligation. Anybody who didn't say these three things has not fulfilled his obligation. And what are they? Pesach, Matzah, and Morah. We have to discuss Pesach, we have to discuss Matzah, we have to discuss Morah. Now you know that all year long I'm always thinking about the shiur that I'm going to give before Pesach on Haggadah. So I'm always open to a nice interpretation or a nice insight. And wherever I go and I speak to different people, I always keep this, at least in a back burner, that maybe I'll hear something which I can use for the Seder. Recently I was at a chasana, and I sat next to a Rav, and he told me he just saw something in a Chasam Sofer, and he shared with me some very simple but very insightful insights. And I think it has to do with this. It has to do with this paragraph, and I'd like to share it with you. The Chasam Sofer says, and I take it up on his word, that the word matzah, what's the difference between matzah and chametz? Matzah is unleavened, and chametz is leavened. What's the difference? So we know that the leavening of the dough, when it rises, this represents Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, and specifically it represents gaiva, conceit. Being inflated, being conceited, being self-centered. This is the concept of chametz. Whereas matzah is devoid of that. So the Chasam Sofer says, if you analyze the two words, chametz and matzah, you will notice that two of the three letters of each word are identical. Chametz has ches, mem tzadi. Mem and tzadi are in chametz. Matzah starts off, mem tzadi. So mem and tzadi are identical in these two words. What's the difference between chametz and matzah? One has a hey, one has a ches. So the whole difference between chametz and matzah is the difference between a hey and a ches. Ches is the number 8, hey is the number 5, the difference is 3. Says the Chasam Sofer, it's referring to a very specific 3. In Pirkei Avos, in the 4th parak, this 28th Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar HaKapper says, Hakina, Vataiva, Vakavod, Motzinas Adam and Olam. There are 3 things that will pull a person out of the world, not only the world to come, but even this world. Kina, when he's jealous of somebody else. Taiva, when he allows himself to indulge in his lusts and his desires. And kava, when a person runs after honor. These things will destroy a person. These 3 things are all a result of being when a person is self-centered. When a person thinks about himself and he sees somebody else having something that he doesn't have, it hurts him. He has kina. He's jealous of it. When a person is centered upon himself, then he wants to satisfy his own desires. That's his primary interest, to fulfill his wishes, his own personal wishes and his desires. And kavod, if he's self-centered, he wants honor. All of these 3 things are a result of a person who's focused on the self. Says the Chasam Sofer, the difference between matzah and chametz is 3, and what's those 3 things? Kina, taiva, and kavod. If you have these 3 things, then you're a chametz person. If you don't have these 3 things, then you're a matzah person. right before benching, we have tzofan. Tzofan is when we eat the afikomen. But not only do we eat the afikomen, we have to negotiate for the afikomen. And I saw a story which brings out a lesson from tzofan. This story is in a newly printed Haggadah. I also collect Haggadahs. So in a newly printed Haggadah, it's called the Torah Tavlin Haggadah. It also has on Chumash as well. But the newly printed Torah Tavlin Haggadah tells over the following story. It's a very interesting story, and there is a lesson to be derived from tzofan. The story has to do with Reb Shlomo Eiger. Reb Shlomo Eiger was the son of the illustrious Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rabbi Akiva Eiger was one of the greatest Talmudic minds of the last several hundred years. He lived in the early 1800s. His son, who was also a great guy, Reb Shlomo Eiger, was also a very well-known guy and Talmud Chacham. Reb Shlomo Eiger, the son, was married to the daughter of a very wealthy individual. When this person passed away, he left a tzavah, he left a will. He said, whichever of my descendants, whether it's my children or my grandchildren, who will name a child after me, that person will receive 40,000 ruble as an inheritance. Now, 40,000 ruble would be a great sum today, but in the beginning of the 1800s, 40,000 ruble was millions and millions of dollars. So he says, whoever will have a child and name that child after me will get 40,000 ruble. At the time of his death, Shlomo Eiger's wife, the daughter, was pregnant. Not long after, she gave birth to a boy. The boy, unfortunately, was sickly. But they named the child after the grandfather, the child's grandfather. Before 30 days, the child passed away. The child passed away before he was even 30 days old. Shlomo Eiger had a brother-in-law who was married to a daughter of his father-in-law, and she became pregnant, and she had a son, and they named their son after the grandfather, after her father, which was the grandfather of the baby. But then a shaila arose. Who is entitled to the 40,000 ruble? Reb Shlomo Eiger said, the tzavah, the will, stated, whoever would name a child first, and we did that. The brother-in-law said, the intent of our father-in-law was that his name should be perpetuated. Unfortunately, your child died. My child is healthy and is living well. He's going to carry the name on. Your child didn't carry the name. So there was a big shaila over 40,000 ruble. So they went to this Ir Ve'ein the Yisrael. They went to Varsha, to Warsaw, and they went to the Bezdin of the Chemda Shleima, Reb Shlomo Zalman Lifshitz, Goin, a great Goin, an elderly Goin, a friend of Reb Akiva Eiger, of Reb Shlomo Eiger's father. They went to the Bezdin of the Chemda Shleima in Varsha, and the Chemda Shleima listened to both litigants, and he said, you have to give me 30 days. In 30 days, I will issue a psak, a ruling, who is entitled to the 40,000 rubles. They came back 40 days later, and the Chemda Shlomo, for whatever reasons, I don't know, the story as it's recorded in this Haggadah doesn't tell us the reason for the psak, but the psak was in favor of the brother-in-law of Reb Shlomo Eiger. It was the psak, the ruling was against Reb Shlomo Eiger. Reb Shlomo Eiger says, I don't understand. Shlomo Eiger was a great guy in his own right. In fact, in the Sefer of Reb Akiva Eiger, which is his father's Sefer, a lot of the Reb Akiva Eiger contains the writings of the son, Reb Shlomo Eiger, as well. Reb Shlomo Eiger said, I went through this Indian, through this halachic issue. I went backward. I went all through it. I examined all the possibilities, and I feel that you're making a mistake. The Chemda Shlomo, the elderly Rav, refused to budge. So Shlomo Eger said, my father, Rabbi Akiva Eger, would never have paskined like this. Would never have ruled like this. When the Chemda Shlomo heard that, he broke out in a wide smile. He says, let me tell you a story. A few hundred years ago, this was in the 1600s, the Reb Heschel from Krakow, who eventually was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, he was eventually the Rabbi of the Shach. We have a sefer in Chumash called the Chanukah Satayr. He was a little boy. The Rebbe, he was not a chassid, even though we call him the Rebbe Reb Heschel. But Reb Heschel from Krakow was a little boy at the time, sitting at his father's Seder. And, being a bright boy, he stole the Afikomen, as many bright boys often do. And when they came to Tzofun, they came to giving back the Afikomen, his father said, no, Heschel, what would you like for the Afikomen? So Heschel didn't hesitate for a moment. He wants a silk jacket. I don't know why he wanted a silk jacket, but he wanted a silk jacket. But his father didn't want to give him a silk jacket. For whatever reason, I don't know if he could afford it, maybe he couldn't, maybe he could and he didn't want him to have it, but he didn't want to give him a silk jacket. His father said, nothing doing, you're not getting a silk jacket. So little Heschel said, nothing doing, you're not getting Afikomen. So as it got closer and closer to Chatzos, closer and closer to the time, his father said, there's no time left to negotiate. His father said, I want the Afikomen. He says, but I'm not giving it to you unless you commit yourself. His father was forced to commit himself. So his father committed himself to the silk jacket. Then he took the Afikomen and started to distribute it to each of the members of the Seder. And of course, he probably added other matzah. He distributed pieces of the Afikomen to each of the members of the Seder except for little Heschel. He didn't give it to Heschel. Heschel said, what do you mean? Tati, Abba, what about me? So he says, I'm only going to give you a piece of the Afikomen if you rescind, if you take back, if you allow me to rescind my obligation to you of buying you a silk jacket. And with that, he smiled broadly, a triumphant smile. Little Heschel was not to be outdone. From under the table, he pulled out a piece of the Afikomen that he saved for himself. He says, Abba, Tati, I knew you might do something like this. So I saved a piece of the Afikomen for myself. So said the Chemda Shlomo to Reb Shlomo Eger, I knew you might do something like this too. I knew that you might pull rank and say that your father, Rabbi Akiva Eger, would not paskin, would not agree with my psak. And that's why when you asked me the Shiloh originally, I said I wanted 30 days. 30 days was to write a letter to your father and to ask him what he thinks about this Shiloh. And he pulled out from under the table a letter from Rabbi Akiva Eger, where Rabbi Akiva Eger agreed with his ruling that the brother-in-law was entitled to the 40,000 ruble. And that letter he presented to the shocked Reb Shlomo Eger. This was a lesson that the Chemda Shlomo learned from little Heschel from Tzofun, when little Heschel pulled out the piece of the Afikomen, which was his trump card in regard to his negotiation with his father for this jacket. One last thought on that. God, I know we're a little bit late. Just got permission to extend it a little bit. It's not Chatzos yet. After benching, we do Hallel, and in the Hallel, we have the paragraph Min HaMeitzar, and in that paragraph we say, Loi Omus Ki Echya V'Asaper Ma'aseh Ko, which means, in simple Simple reading of the pasuk. I shall not die. Ki achya, rather, ki meaning rather or but I shall live. V'asaper ma'aseh koach, and I shall relate the actions of Hashem. I shall discuss and tell over the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings. Shlomo Freifeld, Zeichet Tzaddik Livracha, interpreted this pasuk in a different way. The word ki, we know from the Gemara, we know from Rashi and Chumash also, has a number of four different definitions. The word ki, lo almost ki achya, ki can also mean when. For instance, ki seitzei la milchama al oivecho, when you go out to war against your enemy. Ki could mean when. So Shlomo Freifeld understood this pasuk, lo almost, I shall not die, ki achya, when I'm alive. It's possible for a person to be living, but not to be alive. I shall be alive. I'll live, and when I'm living, I will be committed to becoming alive and remaining alive and tell over the story of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I will not be alive in such a way that I don't recognize that I'm half asleep and I go through life comatose. But lo almost, I shall not die when I am alive, so I can tell the stories, the ma'aseh koach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Kotzker Rebbe once was traveling around and he came to a town. And when he came to that town, there's a cheder in the town, and they invited him to give a little bechina to the children, a little test to the children in the cheder, so it must have been a very young grade. And he went in, they were learning Parshas Bereshis. And he listened to one of the little yinglach, one of the little children, recite the pasuk in Chumash. And the child recited the pasuk this way: Vayechi Adam unodam hat gelebt. And Adam lived shloshim u'ma'ashana. He went through the pasuk. He lived 130 years, and he had children in his image. The Rebbe said, Kotzker Rebbe said, no, you didn't translate it properly. The child didn't know. Why didn't he translate it properly? So he tried again. Vayechi Adam and Adam hat gelebt. He said, no, he didn't translate it properly. So that was Rabbi jumps in. What do you mean he didn't translate? That's what the words mean. And Adam lived. Adam hat gelebt. Adam lived. So the Kotzker Rebbe said, let me read you the pasuk. Vayechi Adam and Adam hat gelebt. He didn't live, he was alive. That's not the way to read a pasuk. And Adam lived. Adam was alive. That's what a person has to be alive when he was living. Lo amus ki achya. A person can't be dead when he's living. He's got to be alive. And that's how you have to learn to say the Seder. You have to approach our Seder. When we approach our Seder, it has to be lo amus ki achya v'asaper ma'aseh koach. In order to engage everybody, in order to get everybody interested, in order to get ourselves interested, we have to say it. We have to say it with life. We have to be alive. It has to be a Haggadah that lives. It can't be like the cover of these books, how to survive Yom Kippur, how to survive the whole. One guy's got the sefer upside down, one guy's asleep on the other one's shoulders. It's got to be alive. And when it's alive, that's how you relate the story of the Haggadah. V'asaper ma'aseh koach, you tell over the story. And I hope that you all tell over the Haggadah, tell over the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim in such a manner, and will not only be invigorating for ourselves, but invigorating for the families, invigorating for those who are around us, and we will all have a beautiful Seder.